we're going to talk about the Courage Project, which is a project that I've been working on in my spare time recently. Started out in July of this year when I started out by just blogging some of my thoughts and feelings about stuff that had been happening to me over the last year. And I noticed that one of the underlying themes in a lot of my blog posts was this idea of fear. I had been going through a career transition, and I had just ended a relationship, and there was a lot of stuff that I was dealing with regarding moving forward. And I wanted to kind of put together a project that would engage people in the community around some of these questions that I was having around fears and dreams and courage. So I decided to start with this postering campaign where I developed a poster that I put around mostly in the Mile End neighborhood that asked people to think about what they would do if they had a little courage. I didn't save too many of them. I mostly just kind of let them blend in with all the other posters that were on the signposts or street lamps. But this one was at McGill University, and it was inside, so it hasn't been damaged. Some of the stuff was, there was a lot, this theme was really predominant. Move to New York was a big one. This one was also moved to Paris. A lot of people wrote leave Montreal, or get a job that I love and leave Montreal. But then what was interesting is that some people would respond to those comments with comments like, are you crazy? Why would you ever leave Montreal? Talk to pretty girls. There was a fair bit of levity in a lot of the comments as well. I noticed that that was really dependent on where the poster was situated. If the poster was in a very public area, people tended to respond with a fair bit of levity. But if it was in a more secluded area, like around a corner, not in front of a cafe, then I found that people tended to put a lot more serious comments, like I would quit drinking, or I would start my own practice, and things that I think people were really thinking seriously about. There was a controversial one too, that this one I just saved just a couple of days ago. All the rest of them are gone, but this one was on a signpost on Park Avenue. And the reason I found it was a little controversial is because it said, go to India, and then someone wrote, keep dreaming the dream, Whitey. And then it kind of went on from there, and people sort of listed a bunch of different comments in response to this initial go to India comment. And I felt, I wasn't sure what to do with it. I mean, the ones that had blatant racism or homophobia on it, I took down right away. But this one I felt a little conflicted about, and I wanted to take it down initially, and then I did that, and then I put it back up and sort of let people continue to respond to it. And I was interested in how people sort of managed the comments themselves and had a public conversation around these kinds of issues as well. Following the first stage of the Courage Project, I really wanted to respond to some of the comments that people had left on the posters. And I wasn't sure how to do that. I thought about leaving notes around on the street corners where I had originally put the posters, but I didn't want to respond to each individual comment. So what I decided to do was an encouragement exchange, which happened at a street fair. And what I did is I just typed out phrases of encouragement that people had told me over the last year throughout my different struggles. And I listed them all on this frame, and then I encouraged people to take one that spoke to them and to leave a word of encouragement in exchange. And so I had about 80 people participate altogether. And you can see a lot of the handwritten ones here are words of encouragement that people have left behind. And then some people even exchanged with other people during the process. So it was a really nice way of encouraging people to do some of those things that they need a little bit of courage for. So this is the third phase of the Courage Project. And what I've done is I've taken those words of encouragement that you saw on the encouragement exchange board, and I've enclosed them in envelopes, and now I'm just going to leave them all over the city for people to find. They're on little tags with strings, so when people find them, they can either keep them for themselves or they can leave them somewhere to pass them on to someone new. It kind of buoyed me to see that other people just in my community were experiencing the same kinds of struggles and were characterizing them as fears. Like, a lot of people put comments about quitting their job. I would quit my job. I would leave Montreal. And that was very interesting to me, to think about how many people are out there struggling with the same fears that I have about moving on and making a big career change.